Third down and 20.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Season 2, Episode 3. Lounis is back with us after taking a bye week, afraid of all the Kadarius Toney slander and whatnot, all his terrible takes. We're back. We are only a couple weeks away from actual NFL regular season games, 2 and change weeks to be exact. We do have some somber news, though. One of the top rookies, probably picked in the middle of your Superflex rookie drafts, Travis Etienne, went down with a Liz Frank injury. Not something you want to see. Season ending, it looks like. I think he got placed on IR before September 1st, meaning that is a season-ending injury. So everyone who was all hyped and excited to see Travis Etienne in his rookie year, that's gone. The James Robinson truthers get away once again. But I guess to kick it off, I saw a thread, I think it was Miguel Chapton, I don't know how you say his name on Twitter, put together a thread of all recent players to suffer Liz Frank injuries. None of them, I don't know if I'm saying the medical term right. Sorry if I'm not. But none of them were like too big of names, as big of prospects as Travis
Julio have it?
He had surgery on his. No, he didn't have surgery on his. He had a sprain, not surgery. I think the only one that was a big name was Maurice Jones-Drew, but it was like later in his career.
Yeah,
so it's kind of hard. Point. Yeah, so it is hard to tell. I mean, basically everyone on that list struggled to bounce back. Some, I think, were able to, but never came back to their full potential. Etienne is someone that, in my little diatribe, Etienne is someone that I was kind of on the fence about in the first place. I mean, Javonte was my running back one beforehand, but Etienne was that guy that I was pretty close to. I still had him above Najee. I just thought he's probably going to get the most receptions out of this class. He does have that kind of upside. He was a first round draft pick. He wasn't necessarily a bad prospect. So, he was someone that you could get excited about, but I wasn't completely sure about. Now he's got this huge injury tag on him. What do you do if you're an Etienne owner? Or are you someone that still likes Etienne?
I still like him. This isn't like Cam Akers for me, where I start to get legit concerned about how he's going to come back. I think this is an injury he'll come back fine from. I know the main only other one was, I know Jake is good, I'll give him a sec, but the main back was Maurice Jones-Drew, but he was already 30 or something, or 32 when that happened. So Etienne, I still really like him. I know it sucks for this year a ton to his owners. And there might be different ideas in terms of if I'm a rebuilding team, I'm definitely not moving him. If I'm a contender, maybe if a rebuilding team wants to give me a win now piece that's really good, that's equivalent to maybe I'd probably still have his value at around 112, 201. That's kind of still where I value him. I'm not going to put it down too much because of this, because I still think, especially if you're in PPR or half PPR, his receiving upside is going to be nice when he's healthy. It's just kind of a shame that he's not playing this year, but I still like him. If I'm rebuilding, I'm keeping him. If I'm a contender, I would see maybe if I can get a veteran help me win this year at the value of around 112, then yeah, but I still like him in the long term. I'm not really over worried about him.
I have to disagree here, Loon. I think this injury is way more serious than people think. The Liz Frank injury, obviously it's season ending, but this is an injury that kind of lingers a lot of times and has a high probability for re-aggravation or re-injury, and I just don't want any part of that, especially from a guy that has not played a single snap in the NFL yet. If I'm a contending team, I'm selling. If I'm a rebuilding team, I'm still selling. It might be for different pieces here, but I'm just gonna cash out at Etienne at this point. It's just so tough when a guy that you probably spent a first round pick on goes down with an injury like this, and obviously his upside is still there. And if you're a rebuilding team, if you can pick him up for not a whole lot, because I know his value is tanking at this point pretty much, but he's not a guy I'm looking to go out and buy the dip of where it's worth it to me. I think the risk is just too significant that he's just an average running back at this point.
What do you consider the dip? I would buy for an early second.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. Yeah, sure. If I'm a contender, maybe I'll throw my late second and be like, it's going to be a late pick anyway. I'm not going to get a better prospect because he is a top prospect.
A late second? Who the hell's selling for a late second?
Right. No one's going to sell, but I'm not buying for a high second because I just think the injury is too significant. And I understand if people were willing to do it because a second's, a dart throw a lot of times anyways. But I don't like this injury one bit. It's an injury that has, like I said, a high chance for re-aggravation, re-injury. And I think it's going to something that's just going to nag him for the rest of his career. And you're always going to be worried about it.
All right. I do have two things on top of this. I was able to find the thread at Pro Football PSI of all the different players to have suffered this Liz Frank injury. I'll just run through them real quick. You have Cedric Benson, who never played again after this injury. So from that, you could tell he was later in the career. Amir Abdullah, whatever. Santonio Holmes, he was out of the league 2 years after he got this injury. Ronnie Brown, Darren McFadden, Maurice Jones-Drew played one more season.
Wait, was that Darren McFadden one before he went to the Cowboys or after the?
Yes, it was right. It was a couple years before he went to the Cowboys. It was when he had his down years following that, and then he was able to get a little bit better on the Cowboys. But yeah, Hollywood Brown, okay. Cam Newton a couple years ago, that's what he had. That held him back. Jake Locker, who cares? Matt Schaub, Alshon Jeffrey, a couple years ago, and then the difference is
how long ago was Alshon?
I think 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. Two years ago.
Okay.
It was basically the injury that put him out for the rest
of
his career.
What it seems is like you can bounce back from it, but can you live up to potential? I don't know. Etienne's someone that
if I can get a first for Etienne, I'm smashing it. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what pick it is. You probably took him in this mid to late second or first round this year anyway. If you can cash out for same value, I'm taking it and just pushing the pick back.
So I just did a little bit of a keep trade cut experiment just to see what kind of value Etienne's already lost. We're like just about 24 hours removed, so it's only going to go down likely. To have traded for, say you had Etienne 2 days ago and Etienne today, if you wanted to trade with your Etienne today for the Etienne 2 days ago, you would have to add on top a Tyler Boyd. He's lost a Tyler Boyd worth of value in 24 hours.
Not like Tyler Boyd.
Is that like a second? You think?
Yeah.
Well, other players up here in value. Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall, Kenny Galladay, Robbie Anderson.
Okay,
you might have to.
He lost a good amount of value in 2 days, and it's only going to continue to go down.
That makes me want to buy low on him. If other owners, but I don't think owners are treating it that way.
Well, that's the problem. Is the guy who took him is not. He just took him for a first. He's not going to turn around and trade him for a second. It's just unlikely. Yeah. So it's just, I feel like the outcome here is basically just going to be whoever has him is going to hold him and pray that he comes back from it. But I don't know what an owner would be willing to bet on him at this point trying to buy.
I saw him get so.
I'd buy him.
For what?
A second, an early mid-second. Why not?
Yeah, I'm paying an early mid-second for him. I saw him in a different league get sold for a late 2023 first. Which I think that's fair. That's a little bit more than I would pay
for him, but
that's a little more than I would pay.
I think it's an overreaction to a certain extent. Listen, I couldn't point to where the Liz Frank is. It's somewhere in the foot, but I couldn't tell you where the hell it is. But I could tell you this much: if a player's going to get injured, I'd rather it be his rookie year than any other year. I thought Etienne was a dude that needed some development anyway. And obviously, it sucks, but I don't think this is going to completely end his career. I have no idea.
Anyone's saying that.
If I had a surplus of draft capital, I would buy the dip. Like, I'm kind of on the JT side. Like, I'm not huge into Travis Etienne. I never was. I think he's a talented player, and in the second round, it's a phenomenal value. But I might shoot out a feeler to the Etienne owner and see if I can get something where I really feel like it's a panic sell. And if not, then so be it. I don't have to touch him.
I mean, from like where I look at it is I thought Etienne was getting overdrafted in the rookie draft. And so now his price is kind of getting adjusted to where I would have taken him in the rookie draft.
Where would you have taken him?
But like 201,
201,
112.
I
He was
feel
getting
like
drafted
JT
around
is
170.
like swap Bateman and Etienne, and because like the Dynasty committee was drafting Etienne where JT had Bateman, and then vice versa, you know?
Yeah, sure. But where I'm going with that is, all right, so now he's fallen back to kind of where I valued him. But now he has this injury on top of it. So now I value him even less. So for me, it kind of does get hard. I do think, though, with the psychological standpoint and how like Dynasty Reddit and Dynasty Twitter works is you're going to see Etienne's going to just be stashed away and people are going to forget about him. He's going to have this sharp decline. And then, 6 months from now, the season starts ending. Oh, guys, I'm rebuilding. Who are some good buy lows? Everyone's going to say Travis Etienne. Etienne's going to be the Denzel Mims. He's going to be the Cortland Sutton of 2021. Where, he might be a buy low, but everyone's saying he's a buy low. So then he's not actually a buy low. So if I have Etienne, I probably am just holding him unless I'm getting a first back. If I'm getting a first back, sure, but I don't think most people are giving up a first for Etienne. All right.
I mean, if I'm a contender, I'm not going to panic sell for trash pieces or like average pieces. Like I'll see what happens, but I'm a firm believer in the hold for the upside.
Frank also had a great tweet yesterday about this at 3RD and 20 _ on Twitter. Just talking about the James Robinson owners who have now profited 2 straight years in a row. So go check out the meme that he posted. But James Robinson owners, 2 straight years in a row. You're just getting such crazy value off someone that you got off the waivers in 2020. Like, probably didn't even have to spend fab. And you got James Robinson. And now you got a RB like 5 overall in 2020. And now who knows what he might be in 2021. Probably not that high, but
would you say probably top 17, top 15.
Okay, yeah, and that's not what you were expecting from
James Robinson. I'm surprised though is that James Robinson is not seeing the increase that someone like Darrell Henderson saw. I think that people are being a little bit like James Robinson rose to what Darrell Henderson became, and it seems like there's a whole lot of people in the community unwilling to put him higher than like RB19.
I think what's kind of been the trend of the week is everyone just shitting on the Jaguars offense, watching them. I know that was happening a lot. I saw like over under a year and a half until Urban Meyer medical issues come up and he has to step down again because his offense sucks. People have been shitting on them, and I don't know how it's going to be. They still have the best QB prospect, so they're in a good spot off that alone. But I think it was kind of a part of how people view how good the Rams offense is going to be and how bad the Jaguars offense is going to be.
All right. So now doing that quick experiment, because I wanted to check with Frank saying that the Dynasty community hasn't really responded to that. If you had James Robinson 2 days ago and you wanted to trade up and get to James Robinson today, you would have to add on top a Corey Davis, Derek Carr, Darnell Mooney type player. So I don't know, mid-second.
Maybe he has risen.
Yeah,
like more.
He's definitely gone up a little.
I don't know. I saw that a lot of people had him at like RB19, RB18, and I figured that he was somewhere around RB25 before that. Whereas Darrell Henderson, I think, was firmly in that after 28, even 30s range running back and shot up to around RB20, right? So
yeah, James Robinson's at RB19 right now and keep trading.
And what's Henderson at?
I don't know.
Well, he sucks, all right. Though, too.
Are we good to move on? Yeah, we can move to that subject right now. Well, I guess first let's talk about are you buying James Robinson? I feel like that might be a trap. Yeah.
No.
I'd buy James Robinson.
Peak value.
I'd buy him. I don't know what the price is. Like, it depends the price. Like, I think if you're a contender, he's a great buy just because I think you'll get him at a decent price and he's going to put up another big season. If you're a rebuilding team, absolutely not. But
I'm a rebuilding team. I would sell him.
The thing is that who's more expensive, James Robinson or Chris Carson or whoever, right?
Robinson's
Like,
more expensive than Carson.
You just got to find all the running backs around that tier and see which one you can get the cheapest. Because I think right now you're operating that they're just going to be 1-year guys. I mean, James Robinson has
already
the
significantly
upside,
more
but
than
like
Carson.
I would only buy James Robinson for next year. Anything on top of that, I'll just deem as a plus. But I'm not going to buy him acting like this guy's going to be the best thing. It could happen. I'm not saying that he can't be a long-term back. I'm not buying him to be a long-term back, though. That's stupid. But if you can get him at a good 1-year RB1 price, go ahead.
We've seen his peak already. His peak was that he will never finish higher than he did last year. He saw a crazy amount of usage last year. He doesn't catch the ball a whole lot. Like, we probably saw his most pass catching. So we've seen it. RB5, highest he'll ever finish. I think he can get an RB1 season this year. I'm not even convinced he won't be a starter next year too, but it is like you're paying more than the likes of a Chris Carson by a decent amount. By like a
but how
mid-second
much more than Myles Gaskin? Like is it really that much more than a Myles Gaskin? Is it really that much more than Kareem Hunt?
I think Robinson will have a much better season next year, but in terms of just dynasty value, for me, they're very similar.
It's like a mid-second's worth of value to move from Myles Gaskin to James Robinson.
Really?
If I can offer like a receiver in a second to get Robinson, I might. I actually don't know. Maybe his price is a little too high. That's a weird one.
I think the only way I'm buying because his price is going to be high. I think the only way I buy Robinson, and again, I don't agree with this. I still like Etienne in the long term. Is if you really think this injury is going to hurt Etienne's long-term abilities. I personally don't think it will. I know Frank said that. I know Jake is more on the side that it is going to play a bigger impact than we may think. I think if you're on that boat, then it makes sense to pay up because you're thinking Robinson's going to be a starter again the season after, if you believe that way. So I think in that scenario it makes sense, but I still like Etienne, so it's hard for me to pay that price.
I think at the end of the day, though, how much are you willing to pay for a guy who we can see finishing as a top 10 running back next year? I don't think that's completely out of the question. And that's why I'm still interested in possibly buying. I'm not necessarily saying to go out and buy him. I think for the most part I would stay away, but I'm gonna see what's going on with a James Robinson owner in my league. I'm gonna send out a feeler because if I can pick him up for just under a first round pick's of value, which I don't think you'll be able to do in most leagues, but you never know. Maybe you can get the deal done for something like 2 seconds, and that might be worth it for whatever position your team is in. If you need that, hey, I want a third running back that's going to put my team over the edge. Maybe you wait a couple weeks into the season to see what happens and don't try to buy right now. See, like, okay, well, if he pops off in the very beginning, then I won't buy him. But maybe he has a rough week one, and I think I can buy him for a good price. I don't know. Maybe that's the way to play it. I guess stay away for now. It's a weird scenario. Let's move on to the other weird
Now that we've talked ourselves in a circle.
I personally, like to wrap it up, I'm not really. I don't think I want to buy. You can have your James Robinson. I
have James Robinson in a league, and like I'm not looking to. I like James Robinson. I think he's going to be a good player next year. So how much is that worth to you?
Yeah. I think we're in a situation where the owner who has him, you held him throughout this whole thing. You held him throughout Etienne getting drafted. So I don't see why you're selling now.
If I can get a first, I might sell though. Like I'm thinking about it.
But can you get a? You probably can get a first. If people are trading firsts for an injured Etienne, I don't see why people aren't trading a first for James Robinson, who is coming off. He doesn't have that
first round draft capital.
I guess.
Yes, no draft.
But I mean, my guy Kadarius Toney has first round draft capital, so I don't know. Moving on. To the other scenario, which we floated around a few weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, we talked about Sony Michel potentially getting traded to the Rams. Even a different veteran back ending up on the Rams. But this was definitely one of the possible scenarios that I feel like people did forget about for the past couple weeks, and then boom, they waited until today, the day that we're recording. Sony Michel goes to the Rams for what either ends up being like a 5th or 6th, or if the Rams can get a compensation pick, it'll end up being a 4th, which is not an insignificant pick. Like that is higher than I would have expected Sony Michel to get traded for, but whatever. This now, we could take it 2 ways. I guess we'll start with Sony Michel. He's someone that we kind of all just wrote off on that Patriots offense. All the beat writers are saying Damian Harris is that starting running back. You have James White still there who's going to do the pass catching.
I think the Patriots traded him once Ramondre Stevenson passed.
Yeah, and then now we have Ramondre Stevenson, preseason star Ramondre Stevenson, just torching defenses. So off goes Sony Michel, kind of revitalizes his value. It's interesting, Luce. You're the Darrell Henderson guy of this group. Yeah. You probably think Darrell Henderson's still the guy for the Rams, no?
I think I watched the Rams GM talk about the trade because I wanted to hear what he said about it. And a word that constantly came up over and over again was a complementary role. I don't think it's a coincidence that they made this trade after Henderson had his hand injury. And I think if any Henderson owner expected Henderson to be a 20-25 touch a game guy, you're kind of expecting too much. You're hoping Henderson can get around 15 touches a game. And I think it's still probably going to be in that range around like 13 to 15 touches a game. I think Darrell Henderson right now is more talented than Sony Michel at this point in their career. But I think Sony Michel is still going to have a role. I think they just don't. I think it's a combination of one, they're not banking on Henderson being this workhorse every down back, and 2, they're just not a big fan of Xavier Woods. And we just saw Henderson get hurt. If Henderson gets hurt, they're left with Xavier Woods and Jake Funk. So I think it's going to be kind of a complementary backfield with each other. I still expect Henderson to kind of be the A to Sony Michel's B, but I think Sony Michel will get some touches. But that's where it makes it to the point where Henderson's slightly lower, but I still think he's kind of the main guy. But I think Sony Michel is going to be at the point where I don't think you can really start him. Like, it's going to be some weeks where like he might end up with a touchdown, some weeks where he ends up with like 6 carries for like 22 yards, 25 yards or something. Like, it's going to be kind of tough to ever start him. That's my kind of stance on the whole thing.
Just to build off Lounis, I think he's pretty spot on this. I think, Darrell Henderson, everyone kind of, like, when the injury to Cam Akers happened, thought he was just going to step into that, bell cow role. And I don't think the Rams ever expected that from Darrell Henderson. I think they kind of... We never did. Yeah, I know. I don't... Yeah, but there were people in the community... Henderson,
but he's not...
Yeah, there were people in the community that were just kind of expecting him to step into that Cam Akers bell cow role, which I don't think anyone was going to happen. But I think this trade says more about what the Rams think about Xavier Jones and Jake Funk, and they just weren't comfortable giving those 2 guys 10 carries a game, and they're more comfortable giving that to Sony Michel, who's a veteran back and has shown he could do it in the league before. What's the shade for, Frank?
JT put his on his glasses too.
These aren't
because I'm about to throw some heavy shade on some running backs.
Oh, he's about to say Sony Michel is about to be startable, aren't you? Don't do this.
I would drop 100% of my fab on Sony Michel.
Oh my god!
I mean, I don't think he's on anyone's waiver wire, but
yeah, well, if he is, I'm dropping 100%. I'm looking to trade for Sony Michel. I think that Sony Michel is a better running back than Darrell Henderson. I don't care what the staff thinks. I don't care what Twitter thinks. I don't care what y'all think. I
agree with you, Frank.
Comes to shove, that in the middle of the season, Sean McVay has shown that he's going to give the ball to the running back who's playing better. And when Sony Michel plays behind a Patriots offense that was so one-dimensional, right? Like, literally, they were just like, okay, we're literally running like freaking ISO every play. Right up the middle, double teaming the tackles. We're just shoving the ball up because Cam Newton can't throw the football more than 15 yards without it hitting the ground. All right? Halfway through the season. Sony Michel's not built for that offense. That's not why you drafted him. And I think that the narrative has gone too far. Come into this Sean McVay system where it's primarily zone, but they've been getting a lot more creative with their run scheme recently. I think that Sony Michel can finally be an environment to thrive. I am buying him for scraps where I can. and by I'll pay a 3rd round pick for Sony Michel, to be completely honest. I might do it. I believe in Sony Michel.
Did you say Did you say a 3rd round? That's like, I'd give up a 3rd round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's arguing that.
My thing is,
what else are you giving up for Sony Michel? Wait, no one's giving up a 2nd for Sony Michel.
No,
I mean, if you think that he's gonna overtake Henderson's job, I could see late 2nd.
Dude, there's no shot that a Sony Michel. No. I'm just not paying that because I know that I can get that for most owners cheaper.
Yeah. All right. So 2 things. One, this was an obvious indictment of Xavier Jones and Jake Falk. Like, clearly they didn't think they were good at being backups. Whatever. 2, though, and this is where I agree with Frank. I said earlier, a 4th is not an insignificant. I know it's the Rams, and they'll just throw draft capital wherever. And when they have the draft capital, they spend it on, not great players like Lounis Van Jefferson.
I still like him. He was a 2nd rounder.
Yeah, exactly. That's even worse. That's worse. I like Tutu. Tutu's fine. But so where I'm going with that, though, not above like Terrace Marshall, but where I was going with this is they spent a 4th on Sony Michel. If they were in the draft and they drafted Michael Carter in the 4th, what does that tell you about Darrell Henderson? Pretend Cam Akers is there, and they draft Michael Carter in the 4th. You're thinking, well, Darrell Henderson clearly isn't the backup tier. Like they're bringing in Michael Carter here. Why do they have all these running backs? Instead, Cam Akers goes down, and they're spending the 4th on Sony Michel. But we've seen what Sony Michel can do. We saw Sony Michel actually carry the Patriots. Well, carry is kind of a strong word, but did help the Patriots in that Super Bowl run against the Rams, right? We've seen what Sony Michel is able to do. Darrell Henderson has had opportunity and hasn't done really anything with it. So I do think Sony Michel can be the guy.
Darrell Henderson was better than Sony Michel.
Dude, if there's an environment that Sony Michel is going to turn it around, it is the Rams with Sean McVay. And we can't act like Sony Michel was put in an environment that he was going to thrive for most of his career in New England. Yes, he obviously didn't live up to expectations. I understand that. But between James White being just the king of that 3rd down pass catching role, and rightfully so, James White is like a phenomenal player. And had for a lot of those seasons a ton of rapport and chemistry built with Tom Brady. So you're gonna put James White in the field if Tom Brady wants him on the field. And then what? You're making Sony Michel this early down back. Like, okay, clearly Damian Harris is going to be better in that role. I think that everyone could have told you coming out that if you're just shoving Sony Michel between the gaps, like that's not the role that he's going to thrive in. Put him in a role where he can be more of a traditional one-cut running back. And I think, bang, we can see it. We saw it with C.J. Anderson. Why can't we see it with Sony Michel?
Well, one, I don't think he's the same running back he was on that playoff run JT is referring to.
There were games where he had a lot of success last year. There were games that you give him the volume, and it's not like he can't produce.
And the Patriots liked him so much last year that after drafting Damian Harris, they went out and drafted Ramondre Stevenson. But besides that,
don't think he fits the Patriots scheme. I just don't think it's a great scheme.
They don't have a way different scheme than they did a couple years ago in terms of their run game. Their passing game is different, not their run game.
Well, yeah, but I don't think their run game has ever fit Sony Michel.
He was successful in it early in his career. I just don't think he's the same player.
He's successful whenever you give him volume. Like, literally, Sony Michel, the games where you give him 20 carries, it's not like he doesn't have the yards and the touchdowns to go with it. It's just, he has not been able to stay healthy on the field, which is a problem.
And that's another thing I was going to bring up this year.
But, like, I just think that he's finally in a situation that will help him scheme-wise, and he's in a situation where he can get the volume. If he gets the volume, he's proven that he's able to do it. You can pick him up for a 3rd. I don't know. I think it's all lights ahead. If you can't pick him up for a 3rd, then don't pay that. But
I've kind of 2 issues with that. One, I don't think he's going to get the volume. Well, that comes down to ultimately, I think Darrell Henderson's a more talented running back than Sony Michel.
Yeah, that's where we disagree. I just think that Sony Michel's a better player than Darrell Henderson. And Darrell Henderson's a jag.
I think between Darrell Henderson being a better receiver and his more familiarity with the scheme, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this trade happened once Henderson got hurt. They had Henderson as a starter for a few weeks, and this happened the second he got hurt. I don't think any of those are coincidences. I think Sony Michel will have a part in the offense. I think it's going to be a complementary backfield. But I guess this is where it comes down to who do you like more between Henderson or Sony Michel currently. I think Darrell Henderson is more talented just based off of watching both of them last season. Sony Michel still got 100 carries last year. There were games where he was getting like 10 carries or something. And I don't know. The Patriots, it was kind of telling that they drafted Ramondre Stevenson a year after already having Damian Harris. So they didn't even want Sony Michel to be the complementary piece to Damian Harris, along with James White. They went out and also drafted Ramondre Stevenson. In the
but I think
Stevenson's another guy that fits that scheme that Frank's talking about. He's another guy that you can jam Ramondre Stevenson between the tackles 25 times if you really wanted to.
Like, if
none of those backs
the Patriots went to Sony Michel with an extension, why the fuck would he accept it unless it's a clear overpay? Why would Sony Michel want to be in New England? Clearly, the experiment and the situation and whatever has not worked. Like, if you're his agent, if you're Sony Michel, why would you ever do that? Like, I think it's more mutual than people think. Like, this trade helps Sony Michel and it helps the Patriots.
Let's play a game.
Helps the Patriots.
Let's play a game. Sony Michel or James Conner?
James
Sony
Shout
Michel.
out. Jake?
James Conner.
You're the decider here, Jake.
I think I would go Conner.
Sony Michel was the third string running back in New England.
Sony Michel or Melvin Gordon?
Melvin Gordon.
I think I'd go Melvin Gordon.
Barely.
Okay. Sony Michel or Nyheim Hines?
Nyheim Hines.
I think I'd go Nyheim Hines as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are, it seems like, lower than on Sony Michel in consensus. Sony Michel or Philip Lindsay?
Philip Lindsay.
Are we talking about in Dynasty this year, or are we just talking about
Dynasty?
Okay, well, I thought we were talking about like in terms of talent of the running backs, because James Conner's going to get volume. Like, he's going to be a halfway decent player.
No, the talent thing made it harder between James Conner and Sony Michel. If we're talking Dynasty, then definitely James Conner, and he's going to get more touches.
Okay. Well, all right. Sony Michel or Philip Lindsay? Dynasty.
I believe in Lindsay's talent more. I think Lindsay last
Sony
season
Michel.
was more talented.
Yeah, I'm with Frank on this one. I'm taking Michel.
If the Rams,
what's the upside with Philip Lindsay? He's an RB3, RB2.
I think he's going to take over the Texans' backfield. I just think he's better.
Yeah, take over the 84 rushing yards a game and like maybe a rushing touchdown every 4.
Yeah, it's also when you do. Talent plays a part in these fantasy evaluations. I'm telling you, as a Henderson owner.
Yes, the guy that was a former first-round pick versus the undrafted free agent. Yes, talent takes.
I like Philip Lindsay too.
I
was a dude that liked Philip
when
Lindsay.
They just drafted 2 other running backs to take his spot ahead of him. He was the 4th running back in the Patriots pecking order behind Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and James White. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but
in that
it's
statement?
the Patriots, dude. Like we're using the one organization that operates clearly different from every other team. That was an organization where Chad Johnson, he wasn't necessarily in his prime, went from
he was way past
essentially
his prime.
being like a dude. Chad Johnson was still in an NFL level though, and he became a
season
nobody. He became an absolute nobody in the Patriot system. And he even says it, dude, that team runs completely differently from every other team in the NFL. I think that if there is a team that a guy can go from being a bust to not being a bust, it's going from New England to somewhere else. And it also works the other way. Like, guys can go from somewhere else to New England and they can make them something. But
can I make that same case for N'Keal Harry? Like,
okay, but the thing is that I think N'Keal Harry just sucks. I don't think Sony Michel sucks.
I don't think Michel's that good. I think Lindsay's more. I'm telling you, as a Henderson owner, I'm way more intimidated by if they traded for Lindsay than Sony Michel.
Yeah, but the thing is, you could give Philip Lindsay 1,000 carries a game on the Texans, and I still don't care. I
just think
still
he's
don't
care. Hey, here's my answer. I think
I'm not touching the Texans.
I think in a vacuum, Lindsay is like more capable of being 1,000. And again, this isn't necessarily a specific situation. I just mean it's a talent. Lindsay's much more capable of having 1,000-yard year than Sony Michel.
I don't know.
Lindsay's not a bad running back.
Yeah, but if I'm spending a 3rd-round pick on someone for this season, I'm spending it on Sony Michel. How about that?
Lindsay's not a bad running back.
He's not bad, but he is in the worst situation. That is a team that is almost guaranteed to suck ass. They averaged 84 yards a game last year with Deshaun Watson. What the hell are you going to do without Deshaun Watson?
Well, I think
what are you
going to
do? Their offensive line is Swiss cheese.
I mean, the offense is
their defense is trash, so they're not going to be able to stop anyone. Everyone's just going to be able to run the ball down their throat, jam up the time of possession. They're going to be down every football game, and not only that, Philip Lindsay's going to get he's still in a rotation. You're going to get your Rex Burkhead. You're going to get your David Johnson. You may even get a little Mark Ingram. You're going to get freaking everyone. Fuck that. Give me Sony Michel.
I agree.
All right, let's move on. This is a clown fiesta already.
We're debating the Patriots' fourth string running back. I just want to remind everyone again.
Well, all right. I think fourth string is a little tough, just to clarify. Because
why are we still talking about
this?
If
Sony Michel was still on the Patriots roster, is he getting more touches than Ramondre Stevenson next season?
Yeah, but the
thing is, it's James Conner is good. James Conner is going to get touches in a halfway decent offense. That's what makes it. It's not because James Conner's a beast. Because he was in that conversation.
I said I picked James.
Philip Lindsay is at a similar talent level to both Sony Michel and James Conner and whoever. But his situation is so trash that he will not do anything unless he's insane or the Texans are somehow good.
All right, but my thing about Sony Michel and the Patriots was that you're saying he's a fourth stringer, right? But if Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson go down, James White's not getting more touches. James White's touches are the same. You're not running James White any differently.
Okay.
So that's why it's kind of hard to call Sony Michel fourth.
He's fourth-third.
I still think that's a little unfair. We've seen Ramondre Stevenson. I like Ramondre Stevenson, but we've seen him in preseason. You're a Patriots fan.
Mike
Boone, we saw in preseason.
If you had to bet $20 on it right now, if everyone was healthy, who was going to get more touches next season? Ramondre Stevenson or Sony Michel?
Ramondre Stevenson.
Thank you.
Ramondre Stevenson, probably. But that's because the Patriots, they're tired of Sony Michel. They're moving on from Sony Michel. They've got their shiny new toy.
That's the case.
The thing is, they moved on from Sony Michel 2 years ago, it feels like.
Yeah.
They did. That's the issue. And that's why moving, like Frank said, is going to help him.
All right, speaking of moving on, look at that transition, boys. Speaking of moving on, we do have the Broncos moving on from Drew Lock to Jake Sky.
Thank God.
R.I.P. a legend. R.I.P. a legend.
I don't know what terms you can call him a legend, but...
Sometimes, Frank put it best, sometimes the below-average QB just loses out to the average QB.
We were talking about before, but Jake liked the tweet, and I kind of just had to roast Jake for a second.
I thought it was so funny. I had to it. It was more a joke than anything, but it was great.
Adam Schefter tweets out, Broncos named Teddy Bridgewater their starting quarterback. Jake likes this guy, Christian Williams NFL on Twitter, who quote tweeted it saying, taking mediocrity over potential greatness certainly is a move. We've seen Drew Lock.
He is the same.
Potential
Imagine
greatness.
saying potential greatness with Drew Lock.
The team.
What?
I liked it because it was funny, guys. Okay, it's funny because we're all laughing.
I don't think sure,
but now we can roast.
Yeah, but we're not laughing with you. We're laughing at you.
You're laughing at potential greatness right now.
Honestly, like your Maserati Mitch argument stands better than your Drew Lock one. To be real with you,
I mean,
both are shaky.
Listen here. Oh no. Maserati Mitch is safe for another day, but Drew Lock's honestly,
it's all looking good. It's not looking good.
That argument's for another time, but. Drew Lock, RIP. He's done. JT. I think you tweeted out this is the nail in the coffin for Drew Lock, and I agree.
He can do his dances on the sideline.
As the backup quarterback.
I think he's done though. Like not named the starter. Like big fucking whoop.
I mean, I'm not saying he's done in the NFL. I'm sure he'll get a backup job somewhere.
There's so few starters that get benched that then come back and actually have like a fantasy relevant. Yeah, that have a fantasy relevant.
I'm not saying that Drew Lock is going to be fantasy relevant. I'm just saying.
I agree.
If you believed in Drew Lock 2 days ago, I don't think not being named the starter is the final nail in the coffin.
I didn't believe in Drew Lock 2 days ago.
Okay, you'd have to go searching under rocks in your backyard to find the guy who was believing in him.
We have one on the
my thought was even if they named Drew Lock the starter, he would get benched before midseason.
Yeah, I think we all
is a better quarterback.
You brought Teddy Bridgewater.
I mean, I think Teddy Bridgewater is just better. Like he's an average quarterback.
I will say though,
You shut up with that average.
that's what I said earlier to Team. I said sometimes the below average QB just gets benched for the average QB. I will say, I think this is a good thing for those Broncos receiving options between Noah Fant, Judy, and Sutton. We saw Teddy Bridgewater support 3 fantasy relevant receivers last year. 3 in the top 25 receivers in Carolina last season.
He also did have Joe Brady help.
Yeah, you want to know who's? Yeah, Joe Brady. I think
obviously Joe Brady helps, but I'm saying I like it better than Drew Lock. I like them better than I did with Drew Lock. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not exactly going out and buying cupcakes, balloons, and having a party because Drew Lock got benched for Teddy Bridgewater. Like, I'm not exactly like to the moon now. And it's like, okay, I went from literally crap to slightly less.
I'm not going out and buying cupcakes and balloons because Teddy Bridgewater started.
All right, let's talk about Teddy B though, because I happen to have a nice little share of Mr. Bridgewater rostered in one of my leagues, in our league actually. Dude, I think this is big for Teddy B because Teddy B when he starts is average.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yeah, he's literally QB 16 last year or something. Like QB 19.
Because he started every game. You gotta take out Dak. You gotta take out Dak. You gotta take out. There's so many. There's so many.
Every year we can play the game. Oh, you take out this guy. Oh my God, he would have been QB.
But then that's not average. That's not average.
If Deshaun Watson didn't diddle every trainer this side of the Mississippi,
Teddy Bridgewater,
then you could put him in the top 10 too.
Teddy Bridgewater was like the last quarterback who played all 16 games. Teddy Bridgewater was the last quarterback fantasy wise who played all 16
Bridgewater
games.
Didn't play all 16. PJ Walker started the game.
No, he got hurt. He got hurt in the middle of the game. I'm pretty sure he came back and played that next week. Maybe.
Because Teddy Bridgewater is a freaking.
I know
trooper.
PJ Walker got some run.
Yeah, he almost lost a leg. You think that's gonna stop him?
Dude, I like Teddy B, dude. Buy Teddy B.
He's not
buy him. Scoop him
Don't
up.
listen, Frank. Don't listen, Frank. You'll end up owing a bookie millions of dollars if you listen to Frank's advice.
Don't actually go out and spend for Teddy B, but
I just don't get.
What's Bridgewater's price? What's Bridgewater's price?
Well, Frank has him. What do you think, Frank?
What's his price? What are you trading for? What draft pick?
An early third?
It gotta be more than that.
Well, he's not that exciting. Like, you know what you're getting.
I'd give an early third for Bridgewater.
He's not turning around in like his 8th season.
I mean, I'd ask for a late second, but if I'm looking to sell him and someone offers me a guaranteed top 3 third-round pick, I'm not going to be like, well, rats, I was looking for a second. Like, dude, I don't know. But he's weird, dude, because I like Teddy B as a hold. Like, I've just held him for a while. He's a good player. When he plays, he's a good player. The problem with Teddy B, though, is that he's just not that ceiling guy. And he's never going to be. He's never going to go out there with a week and you expect him to finish as a top 12 quarterback. So I think that's the problem with him. So like I say early third because where's Kellen Mond going in drafts? Early third. Okay, fine.
You know we always talk about when the season starts, injuries kick in. Let's say your QB2 gets hurt. We always do talk about, again, he's not the ideal QB2 in the slightest. We always talk about, though, what's the cheapest starting quarterback you can buy? I think last season, who wasn't maybe last season? Big Ben was one of the cheaper ones.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Fitzmagic.
I think Teddy Bridgewater fits that mold where, like, if you're in an emergency situation with injuries and you're just like, damn, I need, like, the cheapest QB I can get that can just start me some weeks. I know he's not going to be a good QB2, but just don't like completely shit the bed. I think Teddy Bridgewater is not a bad move there.
Here's
your contender.
I agree with you, Lounis, because the reason I didn't say late second, and I would look for late second, right? If you're forcing me to sell for an early third, I would say yes, because of the fact that Teddy Bridgewater can still go out and either get injured or play like shit and get benched, and he does not have the leash that almost every other starting quarterback in the league has for not getting benched. So for that reason, I don't think I would be too stingy if I was looking to sell. I don't think in most leagues I'm actively like, need to get Teddy B off of there. Maybe if my team is dog crap, but it probably would have happened a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Question to you guys. Drew Lock starts any games this season, yes or no?
Yes.
Probably.
He'll start 2.
Yes.
I'll say 2.
Is it because of injury or is it because Teddy's playing below average?
It's because every freaking year there's like 55 different quarterbacks to start a game, and you're telling me that Drew Lock isn't at good odds to be one of them?
I think injury, and then also I could see like if at the end of the year, like if they're out of like they're eliminated from the playoff race, they're just kind of like let's put him out there.
Yeah, try and boost his value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he will end up starting a game.
My guess is 2. That's my guess. Maybe 3. Yeah, obviously even injury.
I mean, dude, you're in that tough ass division. If you get off to a rough start, Vic Fangio's
You'll
job
be eliminated
is on the
fast.
line.
They actually have like one of the easiest starts though. I did look at it.
I mean,
it's
you
like
Jacksonville. You got to go past week 1, JT.
What do you mean? It's Giants.
The Giants week 1.
Yeah, Giants, Jacksonville, Jets, and then the Ravens, Steelers, Vegas is the next 3. But the first 3 weeks aren't that bad.
I'm sorry.
So they're going 1-3.
That was an easy shot. I'm sorry.
What would you guys sell?
No, they're probably going 3-1.
JT and Jake, like, if you had Teddy Bridgewater and we're looking to sell him, are you taking a top 3 third-round pick for him?
I'd want a late second.
I mean, it depends on what position your team's in. If you're, like you said, if you're a dog shit team, like, yeah, 3rd-round pick sounds great for a guy that's not a long-term starting quarterback. If I'm a contender, I'm just going to say, all right, I got a backup quarterback now. Like, I could probably sell for more midseason, like Luna's pointed out, when there's an injury or someone misses a few weeks. Like, someone's going to need an emergency quarterback, and you can get a second. Like,
yeah.
Well,
I will say the rebuilding teams that are holding him, if you're not getting that late second right now, I don't think waiting it out's a bad idea. There's going to be obviously
the problem with waiting it out as a rebuilding team
there is the risk
it's the risk that it just bottoms out and it's nothing.
Yeah. No,
I think it's worth the risk. I think Lunas is right. It's worth waiting.
There's a scenario here where obviously I wish everyone stays healthy, but the reality is there's not a season where everyone's going to stay healthy. If the QB gets hurt at some point for like a 3-week stretch or like maybe even like a 7 longer week stretch, and a contender is just like, shit, I really need a cheap backup QB for a couple of weeks. Like, you might be able to get and that pick will probably be like 211, 210, 212. That's what I would be hoping for scenario if I'm a rebuilding team with Teddy Bridgewater. That's my ideal scenario.
All right, final decision, I think, is hold. It's sell for Jake, apparently.
Unless you get that.
No.
If you're getting the late second now, then take
consensus
that offer.
hold. Anyone disagree? Consensus hold.
Yeah,
I think he's fine. Yeah.
All right.
Unless you're getting the late second already.
Let's get on to the bait segment.
Bait
segment.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Terrace Marshall? Yeah,
we're talking about Robby Anderson's extension and its effect on Terrace Marshall. Dude, I could not care less about whether Robby Anderson got an extension or not. I think that there is zero outlook from this. There's zero impact. I said it an episode or 2 ago. Contracts are the biggest bait in fantasy football. The reason they gave him that extension is just so they could keep everyone around. It doesn't mean they don't like Terrace Marshall. It doesn't mean that they think DJ Moore sucks. It's because the salary cap is fugazi. They had some extra cash. They could get a good value deal, at least they thought, on Robby Anderson. They still have an out if they think he sucks. And if they think he's good, well, they got a good receiver for cheap next year, cheaper than the market price would have been. That's it.
Yeah. No, when I say Robby Anderson, I'll let you, because I know you have a lot to say, JT. When I bring up Robby Anderson, it's not the contract that's making me necessarily feel this way. It's how I know Matt Rule views Robby Anderson. Matt Rule loves Robby Anderson. There's a reason he probably pushed for him to get extended. The reason as soon as he got there, he signed him in free agency when they had decent receivers. It's not like they desperately needed a receiver. And he had 1,100 yards last year in that offense. It's not a bad year. It's not like Robby Anderson's like a scrub. Now, listen, as much as I give JT shit, I'm not as high on Terrace Marshall as JT is, but I don't think he's bad at all. I think he's a pretty good rookie receiver. I think the concern is how much can you expect right away? And again, this doesn't affect really his dynasty value, because obviously dynasty, you're playing for the long run. Most receivers, that breakout really happens like their 3rd year. But there's you got to think of that offense with Sam Darnold leading it. How much can you count on his? At least I'll start with his rookie year. Between DJ Moore, Robby Anderson, Terrace Marshall, and McCaffrey's going to be a presence in the receiving game.
This team does not use their tight end. They do not use.
I didn't bring up the tight end.
Yeah. So They were able to sustain 3 receivers last year. I get that McCaffrey's coming back, but you have to think
McCaffrey's a wide receiver too.
Dude,
but he's getting you more
3
offense.
receivers, and they could not score touchdowns.
Yeah, they couldn't move the ball. Yeah.
But they could move the ball. They couldn't score. So imagine they start scoring points. Like,
my thing though, Lounis pointed to Matt Rule, and Matt Rule loving Robby Anderson. Joe Brady had Terrace Marshall as his wide receiver at LSU. So there's still that college connection too. I do think, like, of the 3, it's hard to say he's the odd man out, but DJ Moore, the best wide receiver on the team, would be the odd man out in terms of that, where I think you don't think DJ Moore is the best wide receiver on the team?
No, I do. I thought you were saying he's the odd man out.
In terms of, I think DJ Moore will be like, all right, like, I'll just go and get more money elsewhere if you guys aren't going to pay me the money. Because you have to remember, Sam Darnold's also in that contract year where it's like, if he plays well, they're going to have to pay Sam Darnold. Like,
it's
Christian McCaffrey's getting played a lot.
Dude, they got so much cap. They're not paying anyone.
They're paying
Christian McCaffrey. Yeah.
Okay, they're paying for Christian McCaffrey, who gets like half of the contract of an average quarterback. And then what?
But they don't have an average quarterback that they're playing right now.
Defense is rookie players.
Yeah, but you got to think, if Sam Darnold plays well, which personally I don't think he will, but if Sam Darnold plays well, he's going to get paid a lot of money because he's still young.
He's not getting paid top 5 money?
No, he's not.
But he's still getting paid.
How much is he making? There's no way.
He's on a rookie deal right now.
He's going to make average quarterback money.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to make anything crazy.
He's going to get, at best, make the percentages for the current market, the contract Tannehill got. That's the best he's going to get.
Which is still a lot.
Per year. Yeah, it's still a lot. But, like, bottom end to top 10. If Sam Darnold comes, turns it around, lights it up, Panthers are a playoff team with an above-average offense.
They're not going to be a playoff team.
But that's what it's going to take for Sam
Tannehill
Darnold
got
to
paid
get that
4 years, $118 million.
So around 30 per.
Yeah, it's like 32, 33, somewhere in there. Average quarterback money.
It's less than 30.
Yeah, it's
slightly under
29, but
yeah, whatever the freaking math is.
29 and a half.
Average quarterback money.
Frank, not mathematician, just a dynasty guy.
Or doctor.
Crossing off careers for Frank. Look, I think this is a team that would likely keep all 3 wide receivers. It's not. We saw with the market this most recent offseason, receivers weren't really getting paid a whole lot. Like, Juju decided to retry.
Juju didn't get a multi-year deal.
The outside receivers were getting paid. Like, Corey Davis got off the market immediately and got paid.
Corey Davis and Nelson Aguilar got paid. Corey Davis and Nelson
Aguilar got paid.
DJ Moore is the guy though that can do both.
So Robby Anderson is a dude that has proven he can get 1,000 yards on the outside
in that system,
and as a deep threat, like a true vertical number 1 threat receiver. It's obviously he's not going to be flashy one up, but he can play the role. He could get paid in the open market, 100%. Let's move on because I hate this. I hate the contract stuff.
All right.
It's just such a bait, dude. It's nothing.
See, no, the last thing I was saying, the case I was making with Robby, it isn't a matter of his contract. The case, you missed it. I was saying it matters how much Matt Rule loves Robby Anderson. But JT did bring up a good point about Joe Brady and Terrace Marshall.
It's just like, if you're looking at the contracts, every year the NFL is, the teams are just like, let's just patch this shit together. At least the contending teams. They're just trying to keep every team though. Yeah, but dude, when you're a GM, it's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to do as best as I can to keep everyone happy. I don't care about the exact numbers unless people start complaining.
My thing about it, which I found interesting and kind of in a side note, is this time last year, we were seeing like so many different players get extended. We had like the string of Kamara and Cook, and I think that was CMC that year too.
It's because COVID.
Yeah, I guess we just don't see anyone getting extended right now.
Teams are strapped for cash.
Yeah, there's no extensions. But even with that, with them all strapped for cash, the free agency market, especially with like running back, is pretty bare. Like there's not a lot going on. All right, but moving on to our theory segment. We broke down the value of running backs. We broke down the value of tight ends, value of receivers. We're talking value of quarterbacks. And so this is where we're going to go and talk about similarly what we think about quarterbacks in the startup, what we think about them after a startup, contenders, rebuilders, everything, all the value of the quarterbacks. And I think we've been pretty consistent as a podcast saying we like taking our quarterbacks early. Like in a startup draft, if you can get quarterbacks 1, 2, first and second round, that's something I would love to do. I love grabbing the first and second round quarterbacks. I think everyone here agrees.
Give me Russell Wilson the second every year.
Yeah. If you're with Frank and 10 quarterbacks win the first round, though, Russell Wilson's not even making it to the second. So with that, though, it is a weird, fickle position, Frank, if you kind of just want to, take us off here.
So here's the thing with quarterbacks, right? Because I think the startup draft, our strategy is pretty self-explanatory. It's an annoying position when you don't have the quarterbacks. So just go out there, spend your high-value assets, making sure you get this position down. Get the top end. Okay? That's it. Nothing else really needs to be said. I can say don't go out there and take the bait, but even if, you took Joe Burrow and reached on him, I don't think that really kills you. The only way you get killed is if an Andrew Luck happens,
Haskins,
or a Carson Wentz, I guess, because he's a guy that was going in the second round. He's a starting quarterback.
He still holds a lot of value.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? My argument is that even if 3 years ago or even 2 years ago, you took Aaron Rodgers in the first round of your startup, yes, you lost value. But are you complaining that Aaron Rodgers is your number one quarterback if you're a contending team? No. He's still a starting quarterback. He still has a good 2 to 3 year outlook. Fine. The problem and the issues really start to come up when you are one of these people like us when we took over our dog crap orphan team, or maybe you just already are in a league and don't have the good quarterbacks in your Superflex league. You're stuck with Teddy Bridgewater as your QB2. What do you do when you don't have him? And I think that's where
you go get him at any cost. You get him at any cost, in my opinion. I mean, not any cost, but you go out and you go after the Justin Herberts of the world. I'm a fan of just paying up and getting that stable young quarterback. Obviously, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Even if you want to go after the guys along the lines of Russell Wilson in there, where the price is a little less just because of age, and you can pay up and get Russell Wilson, and he's a guy that's has a good 3 year outlook, probably even further. Go out and get your quarterbacks. I think that's the most important position on any Superflex league. I think we all agree with that. I think there's no questions there, and just you can figure the rest out later. And I think JT kind of did a good job of this in our league. I hate to give him credit, but he went out. He almost did, but he fixed it. But he went out.
Messing it up would have had Dak.
That's a good point.
But he went out, got his starting quarterbacks, and then he kind of built around it. He's done a nice job rebuilding that team from not really rebuilding, but retooling. I'm going to call it, just pretty quick retool here, and
here's the issue.
At the end of the day, though, if you don't have 2 quarterbacks in a Superflex league, you're kind of screwed.
But the thing is that you can't always get the top end guys. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're not getting.
It's always willy-nilly to say just go out and buy but you can send an offer that is overpaying for Justin Herbert.
I guarantee you can get one. No,
you can't. Go ahead. Try to make an offer to JT without giving up your entire dynasty team.
It's not even just that, but it's also the combination of buying one of the young guys that you genuinely believe can become one of those top guys. Like if you bought Kyler was still very high, but not as high as he is now after his rookie season if you bought him then. If right now you're going out and you're buying, say you're the biggest Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Fields believer, and you think he's going to be in that tier. Because going off Jake's point, you're like, I know there are some cases where maybe your skill positions are insane, but you're not winning a championship unless you have at least one of those elite tier QBs, starting with like the Mahomes, Herbert, Russ, Lamar, Kyler, Josh Allen. You need like one of those, at least one of those elite guys.
You need one.
You want to be.
And that's why I think kind of transitioning into like the rookie draft, that's why I'm a fan of just if you don't have 2 good quarterbacks, just take them in the first round. If they don't pay off, they don't pay off. But when they do, they pay off big time. And you could, if you want to trade them, you could trade them for a boatload. You look at Justin Herbert, last year. And, you take him, I'm going to say most times in the middle to the end of the first round of your rookie draft, and he's quadrupled in value, maybe more. Like, you just take him. And that's what it is. If you don't have two good starting quarterbacks, you just take them. Eventually one will hit. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting the same thing. And I understand that's not a great strategy, but
you take them. You take them when they're top 15 NFL draft quarterbacks. If they're top 15 NFL draft,
that's what I'm talking about. I mean, first round quarterbacks, I can understand taking later in the first round and they haven't fallen there. But if you're a top 15 pick in the NFL draft, there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be a first half rookie draft pick. It just doesn't make any sense.
So I didn't understand Zach Wilson falling in some leagues. I can understand preferring Lance or Fields, but Wilson should be very close after in terms of picks. Maybe you get a Kyle Pitts in, or like a Chase, but it's after that you have to take, because Wilson, just the upside, he's the number 2 overall pick.
And I'm building on top of that, quarterbacks maintain their value, especially when they're like high-end NFL draft picks. You look at a guy in Tua, you look at a guy, Tua is the example that comes to my head. He didn't have a great rookie year, and his value is still very high. And like, if you take a guy in the beginning of the first round, you wait out his rookie year and you go, I'm not a believer anymore. You could still turn around and trade him for a first-round pick. It may not be as high as you took him, but you could definitely cash out at relatively the same value right before year 2. As long as he doesn't go out and, look horrible, like he's just a complete bust. I mean, if he shows any signs of flashes, you can still turn around and sell him. Quarterbacks hold their value if you take them in the rookie draft in a high pick. And that's why I think you just take them. And if you pivot off them, you pivot off them, because it's very easy to, because people are always looking to buy low on a quarterback that they believe in.
One of them fans. You go ahead, JT.
The example I'll point to, too, is like Dwayne Haskins. Terrible rookie year. There were so many Dwayne Haskins apologists who were telling you, like, you could go out. Josh Rosen might be the one example where I'm like, but there still was Josh Rosen believers.
I know, and you still probably could have gotten probably a very early second or maybe like a one. And he was in a disastrous. Like, that's not usually the scenario.
Yeah, those are like nuclear bad.
They still have.
Yeah, even a guy like Daniel Jones, who's done absolutely nothing in 2 years.
Not true. He's fumbled it a lot.
So is that the strat then? Like, if you need quarterbacks, just go get first-round picks, because...
Yeah, if you need a quarterback...
buy one of those elite guys. Like it's the cheapest... You see someone falling.
The cheapest you will ever get a quarterback is in the rookie draft. That's just what it is. The cheapest you can ever get one, besides, the Teddy Bridgewaters, the aging quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger. Like, I'm talking about, you're getting a guy that's going to start for you for the next, a cornerstone. The cheapest you're ever going to get cornerstone quarterback is in the rookie draft. And if that's saying, I have pick 10 in the rookie draft and the quarterback's going to go up pick 5, okay, trade up, go get your guy like that you're going to believe in, because that's the value to move from pick 10 to pick 5 before there's any name attached to it at all is going to be cheaper than actually going out and buying the quarterback, even just directly after the rookie draft.
Yeah. And there were a lot of scenarios in rookie drafts where, like, Zach Wilson is there at, like, 106, 107. Like,
exactly. If you see a quarterback falling, say, hey, all right, I'll give you my number 2 receiver to move up 5 spots. Sure, fine. Like, that's not a big deal, and it gets you a quarterback at a relatively cheap price.
What's your stance, Frank? Are you on that same boat?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, because I think that it's easy to go out and say, just go and trade for one of the top end guys, go and overpay slightly. But actually trying to do that, it's a lot easier said than done. And as someone that, plays in a ton of these leagues and drafts quarterbacks all the time, like, dude, I'm not giving up my Russell Wilsons and Mahomeses and whatnot for basically anything outside of every single draft pick you have for like the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? Like, it's something crazy. So it's just a weird position. I guess, like, even when the league starts and you don't have quarterbacks, man, you just got to throw assets at them until you solve your problem. It really is that one position where I'm not really willing to bargain buy. I mean, you can try your hand at it and try to pick up a Ryan Tannehill here and there. I think that Mitchell Trubisky, for example, you can get him for literally free. So, like, go out and pay for him if you can get him for free, that is. because he might be able to turn it around. It's just like the odds of that happening are pretty low. I don't really know. Like, I don't have a strategy for bargain buying at this position.
The
the
only bargain buy you have would be to buy a guy after the rookie year, and that's a down rookie year, and you think he just had a bad rookie year, and he's going to turn around.
Is that you're like, even the problem though is that you can never, because you could say that for Tua, you can't do it. Like, because there's always the apologists for the first round quarterbacks. There's always guys that liked whoever they liked, and then they're going to echo chamber on Twitter, and then it's just going to keep the price up. I think the only scenario, the only thing I really look at for bargain buying is arm talent and draft capital, which usually go hand in hand. Like, I'm not going to buy a dude with a Case Keenum arm if he gets dropped, and I'm not going to buy a dude that's a 9th round pick. Like, you have all these Minshew dudes. Like, I like Minshew. I think he's a fine player, but I'm not going to go out and trade for
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Minshew's the next Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's fucking horseshit. The guy hasn't played for a second team. The guy he couldn't even hold the starting job on a 1-15 football team. He's the next Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Lennon.
Fucking blow me. Ryan Fitzpatrick has the freaking has like the franchise passing record for the New York Jets. Minshew hasn't scratched that.
All right, but I just did a quick study while you guys were looking that up, right? I don't know how reliable this is, right? I looked up the Superflex ADPs of recent years, right? Because Jake said the cheapest that you could buy a quarterback is through the rookie draft. And now I'll put a disclaimer. You can end up with the Mitchell Trubisky's or Josh Rosen's in the Superflex, and then you'll have to go and re-roll. But when you look at Superflex ADP 2017, Deshaun Watson, pick 107. Patrick Mahomes, 110. Mitch Trubisky, 204. That's where you're getting the QBs in 2017 rookie draft, according to this 2QBs.com Superflex rookie ADP. 2018, you got Baker at 102, Lamar 105, Josh Rosen 108, Sam Darnold 110, Josh Allen 207. People are low on Josh Allen. I do remember that. Can't really find him on with what's it called? 2019's data right now, right this second. But I do think Kyler Murray was going second or third. Daniel Jones a little beyond that. You know, you could get these quarterbacks for cheaper. So there is definitely value in Jake. I mean, I just used like a 3-year sample size, so I can't tell you exactly. But it does seem to be that you can get these quarterbacks for cheaper. Like, you're never getting Deshaun Watson for cheaper until right now. When
the only caveat I would say, so there's like a caveat, and then there's also a caveat to the caveat, is that
we're double caveating.
If you just go to 2010 to 2015 and look at the first round quarterbacks, and some of them you're just like, dude, what the shit happened last night? But I also think that
the Jake Lockers of the world.
Yeah, the caveat to the caveat though is that
there was one draft that just ruined it. There was one draft with like Jake Locker, Gabbert,
it was
and
terrible.
Christian Ponder.
The other thing though is that I think that a lot more offensive coordinators have gone into the league and they're taking a lot more concepts from the college game, and the games are starting to intertwine more. I think that in recent years it's easier. And coaches are trying to make it easier for young quarterbacks to transition into their systems. And there's much more of an emphasis on that, especially when you're spending insane draft capital into these quarterbacks. You're not going to try and put them in a position to fail. You're trying to make it life easier for them on the field. So that's the caveat to the caveat, is that even though the hit rate recently is just better than those earlier years, maybe the organizations and the scouting departments and the coaches are actually just better at getting the quarterbacks and implementing them.
They're better at their jobs. Love to hear it.
No, but I mean, he is a point. And I think a lot of NFL offenses are kind of taking more and more college elements by the year. Especially if you compare to how NFL offenses looked like 10 years ago, where everything was way more pro style compared to now, like what the Ravens have been. Like the biggest example I always think of with, like, if you want to look at the difference of how they made for rookie quarterback come in, look at how the Ravens set up their offense for Lamar Jackson versus way back in the day, the Atlanta Hawks making Michael Vick run a pro style under center offense.
The Atlanta Hawks really made him look really good.
Atlanta Hawks. I just meant in terms of like how they're like adapting these NFL offenses more to the college game and making it easier for them to transition.
All right, I agree. Spend rookie picks on quarterbacks if you need them.
We had 5 rookies get drafted 5 quarterbacks get drafted in the first round in the NFL draft this year.
Yeah.
How many of them this time next year, August 25th, 2022? How many of those 5 gain value? What's your prediction?
I don't think any of them lose value.
Statistically, it's going to be probably about 2 or 3 gain value. That's about it. But
Frank, what do you think?
3.
3? Lounis?
4.
So
I'm going to go 4.
So
you're saying 4 are gaining value.
I think 4 gain value, 1 stays relatively the same.
Oh, so you think just nothing?
I don't think anything's going to be bad enough where it's like complete. Just think about it.
Listen, you got to think about it this way. Like Trevor Lawrence is the obvious one.
Okay, he's actually
the only way he can go is down in terms of.
I'm saying he would be worth more than that.
I wasn't really thinking about Trevor. I'm more thinking about like Mac Jones, kind of in that later half first round. I don't think he's gonna become second round value next year.
Well, you guys could.
Well, that
get rid of rookie draft aside. Get rid of rookie draft aside, right? Trevor Lawrence is ranked quarterback. I don't know, 9 or 10.
He's like a mid to late first round startup pick right now.
Is he gaining or losing value from that?
Lawrence is actually kind of the one I'm most worried about, just because his value is already so high.
He's probably one of them least.
And compared to
I'm not worried.
The thing with Trevor Lawrence is that
I'm not worried about him in the long run. But
the thing with Trevor Lawrence is he's been so hyped up and he's been the best prospect for like 3 or 4 years that even if he comes out and has a terrible rookie year, everyone's going to go, "Oh well, he was the best prospect. He'll be fine. Get him a few weapons, get the offensive line better. He'll be fine." Like he's not going to lose value just because everyone's going to go default back to that.
Yeah. I mean everyone's kind of already going into the season saying, like I'm telling you guys, people are shitting on the Jags offense and their offensive scheme. People are like,
Urban Meyer, I just do not think is an NFL head coach.
I don't think he's an offensive coach. Me and Frank were talking about it, not an offensive coach.
I just don't think he's an NFL.
Depends how much it's going to come down to that OC. If I wouldn't be surprised, this is one of those situations where like if Trevor Lawrence doesn't look good this year, the OC gets fired in one season. This is a lot of pressure with Trevor Lawrence.
Definitely. If they're not good in 1 year, whoever's coaching is probably gone.
Darrell Bevel.
Yeah, Bevel.
Oh, Darrell Bevel. All right. Any other thoughts on the quarterbacks? I mean, we just kind of talked about where to acquire quarterbacks. How do you get them cheap value?
This is not a great position to mess around with. You can get burnt. And the thing is that there's no steadfast rule. You could try to bargain buy, and 1 out of every 8 or 10 shots you'll hit on a Ryan Tannehill or on a Dak Prescott or whatever, or maybe even a Jalen Hurts. But for as many of those, like there's another 5, 6, 7 plus misses. So there's really no steadfast rule. There's always a caveat. It's really tough to try and find them. But I think, like JT said, the one firm rule you can have that will, for a decent amount of the time, guide you well. If they have top 15 draft capital, don't let them slide too far on your rookie draft. Don't overthink it. Oh, Konami code rushing this. Oh, this, that, and the other. Like, no. It's just the NFL valued him. They're paid to do it. I'll believe in it too.
Don't take Najee Harris over Zach Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
geez. My parting message.
I feel like that's strongly targeted at someone, but that's fine.
It could be anyone. Could be anyone.
All right. Well, anything else we want to touch on?
Nope.
We've been seeing a lot of camp reports and whatnot, and there's so many people that get hype trains right now. Marquez Callaway is probably
I missed out on my Elijah Moore being worth 101 for 10 days.
Yeah.
The fashion.
It's a weird, I think whatever you valued the players during your rookie draft is roughly around where they should be valued now. I'm not changing a whole lot due to preseason. I'm not changing a whole lot due to beat reporters who, for the most part, the beat reporters are there to drum up headlines. They're there to get you interested in the team. They're not there to, be like, this guy stinks. Like, we're not, whoever Justin Fields stinks. Like, we're screwed again. Like, no, I like Justin Fields.
Reporters have their own rankings nowadays. So it's like, how are we supposed to trust that they're not biased? They can say it all they want, but like the same beat reporters that are supposed to be reporting for the teams, I'm seeing, here's my top 5 dynasty quarterbacks. Like, dude, you're telling me that they're not trying to be right, possibly by because dude, every practice I'm seeing, dude, there were Justin Fields practices earlier, Trey Lance too, every quarterback. You have half the beat reporters saying, this is the best practice I've ever seen, and the other half saying that they're a freaking bust. From the same practice. What?
Yeah.
Tua was a big guy with that too. A lot of Tua debate.
So I think part of the problem is with the beat reporters themselves. I think that, like JT said, they're there to draw up headlines. I think the other problem too, though, is that you have so many. The redraft and dynasty communities are starting to intertwine to a point where it's unhealthy, because in redraft, part of being good at redraft is reacting to stuff quickly and being like, David Montgomery's going to be good the second half of the year, so I'm going to trade someone who had a good first half of the year for a dude that I know is going to be a lock for a good second half of the year. Dynasty does not. You can do that in Dynasty, but it doesn't. That can really burn you, especially year over year, if you give up more value to get your guy and whatnot. Like, dude, if like JT said, a small piece of news bumps up guys like 10 spots, 8 spots, 5 spots, there might be an underlying issue with the rankings that you originally had.
The Dynasty rankings currently had Marquez Callaway jump like 30-something wide receiver spots. Now, granted, it's not a great jump.
Camp, though. That was preseason action and injuries.
Sure, he's had things go his way, right? But when I see someone who now is, let me pull up Marquez Callaway.
I was going to say, what's his value? Can you tell me what draft pick he's near, JT?
I can tell you. I can tell you. I hate to break it to you, Frank, but he's actually ranked as wide receiver 49. He's around the likes of Carson Wentz, Zach Moss, Irv Smith Jr. If we were talking in the 2020,
wait, who?
Marquez
Callaway. If we're talking in terms
he's
of
that high,
your face.
You guys were like, it's not that much. He's picked 205. He's literally picked 205 in a rookie 205. Draft right now.
What?
If your rookie draft was today and you had 205, Marquez Callaway is right there.
Wait, say the player's name one more time. Say the player's name one more time.
Well, that's Carson Wentz. So what's worth? Yes, Carson Wentz, Marquez Callaway, according to Keep Trade Cut, Superflex League. They're saying
how is that even close?
Imagine picking up a starting QB.
What about a better example? Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase went from being like wide receiver 6 to like wide receiver 11 over a beat reporter saying he can't catch the ball.
He's wide receiver 12 now.
The next day, the same guys, or at least similar guys, are saying, Jamar Chase is back. He had an amazing practice. And the fact of the matter is that on Keep Trade Cut, which isn't the best example, I know, but like that's what a lot of people use. Like, and I'm seeing it on Twitter that people are moving their rankings. So it's not just Keep Trade Cut that's moving rankings. Like, guys are moving significant spots anywhere on the freaking ladder. Brandon Ayuk went from wide receiver 19 to a top 10 wide receiver at one point. Because guys are hyping him up. Like, what the hell? How are people moving this much without playing?
It's the off-season craze. And now, someone who actually, I hate to call him out, but Andy Holloway, part of the fantasy football.
One of us.
No, I mean, I'll call you out all day. He's like a top fantasy football podcast guy. He has 153,000 followers on Twitter. Said that there are zero good signs and signals regarding Jamar Chase right now. As much as I believed in his rookie impact preseason, we teach people on the show to stay water. If I'm following my own advice, I am not drafting him in fantasy drafts. The risk of a Ruggs season is rising. So then I pulled up their college stats and college production.
Ruggs' final 2 years didn't have as many yards as Jamar Chase's final year.
Ruggs has as much in his entire career as Chase.
Jamar Chase's sophomore year had more receiving yards than Henry Ruggs' entire college career.
Yeah,
by over 70 yards. So what are we doing? Now he though is a fantasy football guy. He's not really in the dynasty realm, but like Frank said,
redraft guy.
Yeah, he's a redraft guy. But like Frank said, we now have this crossover where there are more people are starting to meld into the dynasty. Dynasty is gaining a lot more popularity. Even like Superflex leagues are now starting to gain a lot more popularity. We're starting to get like a lot of different technical things that are gaining more popularity. And with that, the advice that's on Twitter for one realm is not going to be the same that you should listen to in the other realm, but because it's all really focused on the same place. Yeah, you can't.
It's really hard to separate the two.
Extremely important.
So the big shame about this is that this takes away from the times that you actually do need to react quickly. The times where you actually do need to say, I need to just cut my losses and sell a dude before he's worthless. Like, I honestly think that 4 years ago, the Dynasty Reddit was actually like pretty good with that, especially guys that you should pick up. Like, dude, you got to pick this guy up now because James Robinson, like there were posts before the season started about picking up James Robinson. Same thing with Phillip Lindsay. It might have been a little bit too late for your leagues, but not every single one.
The same thing with Aaron Jones. Before Aaron Jones blew up, people were talking about him on our Dynasty.
But the thing is that now that there are so many people, this happens with every player. Every single player, there are people constantly tweeting, it seems like, and it rotates every day. You got to pick this guy up. Oh, no, it's a bait. Now you got to do this. No, you got to do that. You got beat reporters, and then you have fan beat reporters. And it's not like I'm throwing shade at a fan beat reporter, the actual beat reporters, because there are fan beat reporters that are way better than the guys that are actually paid by the team, and vice versa. It's like, how do we even figure out what is legit and what is not legit? Because it's literally impossible now.
It's brutal. No, and it's because I feel more and more league people are transitioning to Dynasty, and then even the redrafts. Like I got invited to. I've only joined one. I got invited to 3 different redrafts this year. All of them now are like 3 keepers. Like it's transitioning to kind of more like long-term play, and you're seeing some of those analysis like intersect. And man, if you have a redraft mentality with Dynasty, you're in trouble. Like any kind of.
But it also goes the same way. I know we're not a redraft pod, but like
if
you try to play the same, like I fell victim to it when we first started playing Dynasty, a few years back. Like I had a redraft league and I took all the young guys, and it just did not. That team was not good for a redraft league. I'll tell you that now. But like, and that's the thing is you really got to separate the two. And like Frank said, it's almost nearly impossible to separate the two on Reddit, on Twitter. Like you're not going to know just by reading the post whether it's a Dynasty post or a redraft post half the time. And that's the issue here. And people take the information for whatever they want it to be. If you're in a Dynasty league, they'll take it as a Dynasty. If you're in redraft, they'll take it as redraft. And the information is not the same depending on what type of league it is. So
the other thing too is that I put out a tweet. You can go ahead and say what you're going to say, Lounis.
Can I say real quick? The funniest part of the day for me, and I just found it like just great. The funniest part of the day for me when like all the Jamar Chase hate was coming, like that 3-day stretch, was just like the T. Higgins truthers being like, "Yes, wide receiver 1 on the Bengals. We still got him. Chase is the 2."
Well, see, the other thing I think that's important. I'm pulling the tweet up now from the 3rd and 20 Twitter. I tweeted out league formats. You can read it, but I'll read it for those who can't. League formats are so much more important than people make them out to be. If your league starts extra flex spots or has insanely small rosters, extra scoring, whatever, can massively change how any asset is valued, players, positions, picks. Know your format. That is even in regards to the people on Twitter, because you have some people that are playing best ball. Dude, best ball and regular old Dynasty fantasy football are not the same. Dynasty best ball, redraft best ball, redraft. Like there's so many formats. Every single one of these formats values the players differently. It goes so far as if you just have an extra receiver spot or an extra flex spot, that should change how you value a position in your league. And that is non-existent, it seems like, on the platform. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful with taking the bait, especially because on Twitter, it's all, you're too low on this guy. Oh, you should sell this guy.
For what format? Yeah.
So that's my ramble. And there's really no solution to figure out, at least that I have. If you have a solution or you have any advice, I guess put your thoughts in the comment in the chat room. Because like, how do you do it? It's absolutely bazonkers, because I haven't been on Dynasty and Fantasy Football Twitter in a couple of years, and I just got back on. It's like, what the hell happened last night? It's freaking nuts.
Like, it was a cool little club before, and then now it's just like everyone's in it. It's just kind of like,
I mean, it was always cancer, but you could kind of, there was less people. I mean, we're one of the people that's kind of new in the space. So like, I mean, I guess we're guilty of it too, but like, it was just easier to filter out, oh, I like this guy. Oh, I don't like this guy. Like, there was just a less total amount of people. So it was easier to manage. Now it's like, dude, I've gotten retweets and quote tweets and tweets and Reddits from all these freaking dudes. I don't know what to do about it. Do I believe this guy? Now I just block everything out. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not believing shit. Reports mean nothing. Unless it confirms what I already believed.
Exactly. That's all I look for. Just tell me what I want to hear, and that'll be it. With that, though, I think that's season 2, episode 3 in the books. Thank you all, everyone, for listening. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you, everyone.
See you guys.